Good morning and welcome back to CityLine. This segment is, of course, dedicated to the American Red Cross. And with me, I have Miss Megan Elliott. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you.
Welcome, especially to CityLine. This is your first time on the comfy couch.
It is very comfy couch.
But it won't be your last time. You are the Strategic Account Executive for the American Red Cross, and you look fabulous.
Thank you.
I was telling you about when I have a coat where my American Red Cross pin sits. And when I wear that coat, people stop me for that pin and go, "What is that pin?" And I'm like, "It's the American Red Cross." I think it's so hip and so fabulous that they just don't, because it's gone through kind of a redo,
Right.
as opposed to the 1920s
Right.
Red Cross.
We have some old photos, kind of like World War I sort of
Yes.
era. And I love the sayings are very good. I love anything vintage like that. So it's really that that fine art of keeping it current, but remembering where we've come from,
Absolutely.
our past. So
Your past, honoring the past. Speaking of the past, where were you before you joined the Red Cross a year ago?
prior to this, I was working for the largest distributor of health supplies to schools in the country.
Oh my gosh.
And covered 12 states and worked very closely with the school nurse community, the special education community. We focused on the big product we had was a vision screener, an electronic vision screener. So for children that are nonverbal, can't get a screen out of them if they're looking at a chart.
Yeah.
And in that role, I made a new friend several years ago who works for the Red Cross in Denver. And as luck would have it, there was an opportunity here in Seattle, and the rest was kismet.
I love that. So it's been a year, is that right?
Almost exactly a year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. But
Yeah,
I bet you that went by in a blink of an eye.
It went fast, and there's a real learning curve when you've never been in the nonprofit world. And I mean, a fantastic learning curve, but I've always come from a for-profit corporate setting. And the number one thing that I just cannot get over is how kind the people are that work in the nonprofit world.
Yes.
It's just, it's heartwarming.
You're singing my song. I came from Microsoft corporateness, and then, then I went into arts nonprofit. And so I know that exact feeling.
Yep.
And human service is even more for a nonprofit. It's even more frontline. I hate to use that phrase, but it is. It's very touchy-feely. It's one of those ones that you bring home with you sometimes. So.
But a very high level of professionalism.
Like
that that's not
No,
lost.
that does not change. If anything, I think it's more professional because we do allow a sense of feeling and caring. Otherwise, you shouldn't be in those positions.
Right.
Yeah. So let's talk about what do you do for the Red Cross?
So I work in, we've got sort of the main pillars of the Red Cross that people know. Blood services,
Yes.
our service to the armed forces, our disaster services.
Yes.
But there's a fourth branch that a lot of people don't realize, and it is training services. And I coordinate the corporate health and safety programs for many of the big employers here in the Seattle area.
Oh, I love that. So what's a typical day like for you, if there is such a thing?
First part of the day is catching up on email, getting that sort of out of the way, taking care of what has to be done there. There's some account management issues, not issues, but touching
checking
people.
in, yeah.
That doesn't sound right, but the gentle touch
Yes.
as account managers. And there's a lot of prospecting for new business.
I bet.
Safety directors, safety managers, people that might be training with another company that we would love to welcome to the Red Cross, things like that.
I love that. So when we think about working for the Red Cross, after a year now, what is the number one thing people can do at home to be better prepared?
Well, hands down, it would be getting their emergency kits ready.
Yes.
That's not a question of when. It's not a question of if. It's a question of when that earthquake comes.
You bet.
And so first thing to make sure you have is enough water. You need a gallon per person per day. My husband and I have our adult daughter is in graduate school right now, living with us. So you need to be prepared for 2 weeks to take care of yourself, because when the emergency response does come, they will be dealing with the most urgently affected areas. They won't come to the people like if we're okay, they won't be coming there. And so it's 2 weeks. You need to be able to take care of yourself for 2 weeks.
Wow.
So for the 3 of us in my house, that's 15 cases of water. Because remember, water is sometimes for the hygiene and cooking as well. So that is what people, that's okay. That's what people really need to be prepared for. It's not a question of, let me do it. It's a question of, you've got to do it. And you can also purchase, if you don't want to put the kit together bit by bit by bit, you can purchase the bare necessities, and then you'll sleep a little bit better at night because you've taken care of that need. Making sure you have your extra medication, if it's a life-saving medication, things like that.
Okay.
We'll be okay. We will survive.
I am so sorry.
That's okay.
I'm recovering from a cold, and
That's okay.
I think suddenly it decided it's like it's going to make itself known. And I am not going to a break. I'm going to work through this. So what's the number one things employers can do?
So that's a very, very, I'm very passionate about this because there are companies that need to have, X number of people that have to be CPR trained by law. And, rather than just having that be a, tick off the box, we've taken care of this, the corporate world is where we really build strong communities. And the more people that they can train for first aid, CPR, AED in the workplace, you've got to remember, those people take those skills back to their homes and to their families and to their communities. So rather than, I think that we're going to get it done at the individual home level, if we can have that conversation more in the corporate world, and then it will spill back over that way. That's my passion and what I really work on every single day.
I love that. I mean, I remember when AEDs first came out.
Yes.
And they were very expensive. And I learned how to work one when I got my CPR certification. And my workplace could not afford them. Now they are common.
They're very common. They should be as common as a fire extinguisher because you're much more likely to have sudden cardiac arrest than you are to be, hurt in a fire. The Red Cross can facilitate the sale of AED units. So we work directly with the manufacturers, and when we sell an AED, the AED manufacturers make a donation back to the Red Cross. So instead of there being a profit piece, they make a donation.
That is wonderful. So in a year's time, what do you have hoped to have accomplished in your position?
Next year, I hope to bring on, there's 2 large, we would all know them. I don't want to put pressure on them or mention them now, but we have 2 very large companies based here in the Northwest that we are having very productive conversations with. And a year from now, I hope we have their corporate training programs up and running and have even more of that revenue coming back to support the mission of the Red Cross.
I love that. So that gives us another date, but I don't want to wait for a year, okay?
Okay,
Because
I promise.
I know there are organizations within Pierce County that need your leadership and your training because when an emergency hits, they don't take reservations.
No.
It happens. No. So we have, huge organizations here in the downtown sector that I hope are trained and they have evacuation plans and they have health plans in place because recovery has to go on.
And there will be recovery, but the question is how well will we recover? And we can control that now before we're faced with the disaster. Those are conversations we should be having right now.
I love that. Well, we have been showing your website and your telephone number, my dear, and you are just a delight. I am so glad to have you on today, and I want to have you back on so we can talk about how we can engage these companies to get you in there and to get this training going because I can't think of a better thing to do for your employees, as you said, to train them and they take it back to their home and then back to their neighbors as well.
Exactly.
All right, my dear. Good. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. After I blow my nose and swallow my cough drop, we will have Goodwill free tax services here in the house. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back.